One of the major questions I get asked frequently as a data analyst is how can I start a career in data analytics? Let me give you an analogy. If you've used Google Maps well enough, you will notice that there are different routes that lead to the same destination. Some might be shorter, longer, while some might be just better. In the same way, just like data analytics, if you search on YouTube right now, how to become a data analyst, you'll see different roadmaps. Some might say learn Python, SQL, Tableau, machine learning, statistics, build 10 projects, and on like that. And suddenly, becoming a data analyst starts to feel like you're studying for a PhD. Here's the truth. Most working data analysts are not even using 10 tools every day. In fact, for myself, the tool I use the most every day might surprise you. Spreadsheets, yeah, that's the tool. So in this video, I'll be showing you the real roadmap that actually helps people become job ready for a data analyst role. One reason many roadmaps feel confusing for beginners is because they teach things in the wrong order. You end up jumping straight into advanced tool without even building the right foundation first. So let me give you a simple example. If you remember secondary school mathematics, when the teacher wanted us to understand something like Pythagoras theorem, they didn't start there immediately. They first taught basic algebra because without understanding algebra, Pythagoras theorem would just look extremely confusing. Data analytics works the same way. If you jump straight into advanced tools like Python or machine learning without understanding the basics of working with data, you will struggle. And after a few months, many people start thinking, wait, maybe this data analytics career is not just for me. But the problem usually isn't intelligence, it's simply learning things in the wrong order. So we'll talk about two parts in this video. First, we'll talk about the tools and the softwares, and then we'll also talk about the platforms you can use to learn. Because becoming a data analyst is actually much simpler when you focus on 4 core skills. And the first one might surprise you. I've mentioned it earlier in this video: mastering spreadsheets. The first two every aspiring data analyst should learn is spreadsheet, either Excel or Google Sheets. Some people skip this part because they think, it's too basic, it's too simple. But in reality, spreadsheets are used everywhere in businesses. Even for me, I use spreadsheets every single day at work. Why? Because many stakeholders actually prefer the analysis in Excel format. For example, a manager might want to quickly filter the data, adjust the numbers, test assumptions, or just want to see the data in raw form in Excel. And spreadsheets makes that very easy for them. So some important spreadsheet skill to learn could include pivot table data cleaning, formulas like VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP, and basic data summaries like your sum if, and all of that. So those formulas are important. And if you master spreadsheet, you've already understood how data behaves basically. And moving to the next tool, SQL. Of course, you probably guessed right. Once you understand basic data analysis, the next skill is SQL. And SQL essentially helps you extract data from databases. Yeah, most companies and organizations store their data, their information in a database. So instead of working with a spreadsheet of, say, 5,000 rows or a million rows, SQL allows you to filter data, to group information, to calculate metrics, to combine data sets. In fact, you can do a lot of analysis with SQL. And on most data analytics roles, SQL is one of the most used technical skill or tool, right? Because before you analyze data, you need to first retrieve that data from the database, and that is what SQL helps you to do. And you might find different variants of SQL. You can have your MS SQL, you can have Postgres, different. The underlying function is the same. Now moving to the third one, data visualization. Once you can access and analyze data, the next skill is communicating that insight to your stakeholders. And that's where visualization tools come in very handy here. So you have tools like Power BI, Tableau, and even your spreadsheets. Yes, you can visualize data on Google Sheets and on Excel. So these visualization tools, they help transform data into clear dashboards. For example, instead of sending someone a spreadsheet with thousands of rows, you can show them the trend, the comparisons, the key performance indicators in just a few charts, and that makes it much more easier for decision makers to understand what's happening in your data and the story your data is telling. So at this point, you might be wondering, okay, I know the roadmap now, But where do I actually practice all of these skills? The good news is there are many platforms where you can practice data analytics using real data sets. And the best part is that many of them are completely free. So let's start with the data set. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is waiting until they get a job before working with real data. You can actually start practicing today using public data set or generated data sets using ChatGPT or any AI tool. Some good platforms to get already curated data set is Kaggle, data.gov, Google Datasets Search, data.world, UCI, machine learning repository, and all of that. And these platforms contain thousands of data sets from areas like finance, healthcare, marketing, social media, government data, and all that. So you always have something to analyze or to build your portfolio. However, there is another option, which is for you to generate your own data set by yourself. And you can easily do that using any AI tool. You can use Claude, you can use ChatGPT to say that, oh, generate this kind of data set for me. I want it to have XYZ colon, or this is a type of data set that I want. And it will definitely generate that for you in whatever format you want, whether Excel or CSV. So that's another way to get real data to practice whatever you're learning. And here's a tip that many beginners don't realize. When building projects, try to use data from industry you want to work in. For example, if you want to work in banking or fintech, analyze financial data. If you're interested in marketing analytics, work with marketing campaign data. If you're interested in product analytics, for example, analyze user behavior data sets and let them be in your portfolio. So this makes your portfolio much more attractive to employers in that industry because they can immediately see you understand their type of data problems. Do you get what I'm saying? All right. So once you start learning SQL, you need places to practice writing SQLs. And we have a lot of good platforms out there. I will just be mentioning a couple of them. We have LeetCode, HackerRank, Starter Scratch, SQL Boot, or Mode SQL Tutorial. So you can check out these platforms and see the ones that works best for you, because these platforms, they give you real SQL questions and exercises. So you can practice things like filtering data, aggregating metrics, joining tables, and analyzing data sets generally. So moving on to the next platform, another great way to learn data analytics is through YouTube. I like to call YouTube a free university because there are some really good data creators who teach practical analytics skills. Some great channels include Alex the Analyst, Luke Barrows, Kenji, Statcast, FreeCodeCamp, and of course, my own channel as well. And most of these creators share real-world tutorials and projects. Now, let's talk about certifications. So let me tell you upfront, certifications are optional. However, certifications can be very helpful, especially when you're just starting out in your data analytics career. Some popular ones include Google Data Analytics Certificate, IBM Data Analyst Certificate, Microsoft Power BI Certification, Tableau Certification, AWS Data Analytics, and all of that. But it's important to understand something. Certifications alone won't get you a job. No, they help you learn the tools, but employers are usually more interested in your project and your problem solving ability because they don't want employees that can only tell, but they also want people who can show them what he or she has done. So that's why your project is very, very important. Your portfolio project is very, very important. Finally, don't learn data analytics alone. Join communities where people are learning and sharing ideas together. And some good ones include Kaggle community, Ready Data Science communities, LinkedIn groups, very, very helpful. And essentially, these communities help you ask questions, learn from others, see how people are solving real data problems. Because at the end of the day, becoming a data analyst is not about memorizing tools. It's about practicing consistently and solving real problems with data. And the good news is that today there are resources more than ever to help you get started. Now, let me talk about an aspect I'd already mentioned, but I just want to emphasize it a little bit more. You can complete 10 courses in data analytics. If you don't build projects, employers will still wonder, can this person actually analyze real data? So that's why portfolio projects are very, very important. They help you move from telling to showing. Your project should show that you can indeed clean messy data, analyze trends, and communicate insights very, very clearly. Even one or two well-done projects can make a big difference in your job search. I know we've said a lot in this video. I just want to tell you that if you're trying to become a data analyst, don't get overwhelmed by complicated roadmaps. Focus on the fundamentals. spreadsheets, SQL, visualization, and working on your portfolio project. And if you build those skills step by step, you'll already be ahead of many beginners. If you're learning data analytics right now, I would like to know, which tool are you currently learning? Is it SQL? Is it Excel? Is it Power BI? Let me know in the comments. And if you like more videos about breaking into data analytics, make sure to subscribe for subsequent videos. Till I see you in the next one. Bye.